Patience, Louis. We're only human.
What's your favorite scary movie? Swallow this.
Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Arrow in the Head show. I'm Nick Lance, of course, the Arrow himself, Mr. John Fallon. John's been a little bit of time since seen you. How you been?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I got my brother in town for my birthday week. So my birthday tomorrow, actually. So it'll be
look at you.
One day, yeah, the show's going to air the day after my birthday. So my brother came down. So we're hanging out, working together, working out together, drinking together, doing shit together. So it's cool.
Happy 51st, man. I'm fucking look at you.
First.
Look at you. 51st.
Dude, I legit stopped counting at 35. There's no point.
I don't know. I within 3 years, I know how I am. But man, same stuff to me. Just rocking out, living life.
Well, before we jump into, and man, dude, I hadn't watched that movie in a while. Holy shit balls. But before we jump into Irvin Kirshner, RoboCop 2, what are you drinking, bro?
So I decided to do some little different. I actually really was running out of stuff, so I feel like I got to be more creative in episodes like this. So I had a little bit left of that gross vodka that we had at the other episode.
Yeah, I remember that.
I
had nightmares about it.
One more of those shots.
Oh, God.
I found, actually, it's funny. I think I bought this during last season of Joe Bob. I found some moonshine.
Nice.
It was where my coffee is. All right, so I put that all in the blender with banana, some strawberries, and that's about it. And I made myself.
You're a very practical alcoholic. So it's basically whatever the fuck you find around the house, you put in the blender, toss some fucking bananas, and call it a day, right? Is that how you roll?
Back in the day, my old job, I used to get a lot of help because I would just bring whatever I had in the fridge. So it'd be like frozen peas, hot sauce, Parmesan cheese, and like pepperonis. And I would just put it all together, cook it in the microwave, and call it lunch. So nice. I've upgraded to the booze section of that in my life, but I've always been more about mixing. So I got a good stomach for it. And, people are like, oh, I can't do this. It's like, nah, dude, let's have some hot sauce, some ice cream, and, some tapioca. I'll rock it out. What about you?
Full class, baby. My brother introduced me to this whiskey.
Yeah, I've had it before, yeah.
Called Pendleton. It's dangerous, bro. It is so smooth. It's smoother than a hooker's ass after like a moisturizing session. Very dangerous. So I could drink this entire bottle in like 2 hours and then, get arrested and do usual shit I do. But toast to all of you. Thank you for joining us again. Toast to you, Lancy boy. Let's talk RoboCop 2.
Hello, my friend! Hey!
So, John, RoboCop 2, you were saying you have not seen this in a while.
Yeah.
How long?
I don't know, 10 years, 15 years, I don't know. I mean, the movie was released in 1990. And I remember it was the year of the sequels, I guess, because there was Die Hard 2, RoboCop 2, Gremlins 2. Of course, we had Pretty Woman as well and stuff like that. But I just remember sequels of like IPs I was excited about. When I saw it on the big screen, I was disappointed because the original RoboCop is a tough act to follow. But over the years, I've revisited consistently, and my reaction is always the same. How the fuck did this movie get made? Seriously, dude, how the fuck, especially today,
you look a little out of breath, bitch.
I'm surprised they haven't canceled RoboCop 2 already, yeah?
If people knew about it, they would. I think it's just one of those movies that, like, it's just under the radar. I've been defending this my whole life. I mean, this is one of those, I think my second or third video for Joe Blow when I got hired. I was like,
hey, you did a black sheep on it a while back.
I was like, can I defend RoboCop 2? And, the Boston Times was like, yeah, go for it. So, no, I wrote down something, and I mean, I've seen this. I've seen this a lot. I got a lot. This is I always group a couple sequels in with this, which is Predator 2, Gremlins 2, Ghostbusters 2, where I actually just don't get it. Like, I could fully admit that the first of all those are superior in every way, But I would say this is one of my favorite sequels of all time. And I think a lot of it has to do with how nihilistic it is for being, but it also nihilistic and charming. This mimics the sort of, goofy charm of the original. Not as well. I'll fully admit that.
Well, not as well. It's just harsher.
Well, I would say I put down, it's not as clever as the first one. I think the first one's a more clever movie, but I think this gets the vibe. I think this is what you would like. The fact that we got this close of a vibe without screwing it up. Like the third one is what should have existed, because the third one is, you didn't understand the material at all. You saw cool robot humor and you just screwed it up. This actually
the third one is we saw toy lines. Because the RoboCop movies are rated R, and Part 3 was PG-13.
Sure, but that's
even if that was jetpack and sell some fucking toys.
Jetpack could have been cool. I'm just saying that
could have been, should have been, was not.
But that though, if you made that movie R, that still would have been a shitty movie because it didn't understand the material. I think this did. But you're right though. I mean, I love the kid. The kid is a good example of why this movie works.
Yeah.
But come on. And the commercial, my favorite commercial of all time. I forgot about this because I used to talk about it a lot as a kid. Where a guy's like, I lost the account. I lost it all. And he shoots himself and it cuts to his little daughter who's going to be fatherless. It's like, shop Sprint. Ba, 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 ba. Safest money. I'm like, that's RoboCop 2 to me.
Lost the account.
That's close to one, but one's more clever. But this is like, okay, well, if it can't be as clever, let's just go dark. Like, nuclear fallout in the Amazon rainforest. And they cut the reporter. She's like, they say it's a disaster, but don't they always?
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I recognize as well. It's not as clever, but it's harsher, meaner, crueler. Just the scene, it exaggerates to make a point, and then it makes it borderline. Well, not borderline. It makes it funny in a dark way. So kind of like, at some point there's a traveling shot and it's basically showing how decayed the city has become. It's crime over crime over crime over crime. You got, I don't remember verbatim, but you know what I'm talking about, which scene, right?
The guy robs a homeless woman, and then as he's walking away, the hookers rob the guy.
Yeah.
And then as they're walking away, the gun store blows up, and then like a gang robs a gun store. I'm like, yeah, exactly. It just sort of escalates in this sort of madcap comedy way, but it's done in a way that's it's believable for the movie. I once was like, oh, come on, RoboCop. I was like, yeah, I like this. The hooker's just stopping the guy at his heels. I was like, yeah. Right.
So it's it's mean, it's cruel, but it's so excessive that it's, for me anyways, it was funny. I was laughing my ass off. I was also wowed by the balls that this movie had, like big giant fucking King Kong ain't got shit on me balls. As ridiculous that this movie actually got made by a studio, which is interesting because the script went through like a whole fucking thing. There was a strike at a certain point. They had first brought in the original writers of the original, then a strike kind of foobarred that shit, and then they came in. Then Frank Miller came in and did his thing, but they rewrote the script so much after that he felt compelled to release it as a comic book.
I gotta buy the comic book because I've never actually read it.
I've never read it. Yeah.
But I won those. I went on a Cliff Notes website once. That kind of like it was like 10 pages and explained it. I gotta be honest, maybe in the writing and in the actual panels, it seemed better. But it's cool. But I kind of like the movie we got.
Well, that was the point I was trying to make. What happened was that Orion Pictures basically exercised more control on the final product. When Paul Verhoeven did the OG RoboCop, they kind of trusted him, as an auteur and a guy that, they kind of fucked off. RoboCop 2, they went over everybody's heads. They went over Kirshner's head, they went over Miller's head, and they went even over the actors' heads who said, oh, my character, this, that. They're like, yeah, fuck you, I don't care. You're going to do what I fucking tell you to do, And that's what came out of a studio-controlled movie. This fucking anarchist, out of line, boundary-pushing, mean-spirited, politically incorrect sequel.
You mouth off like that again, and it's no more nuke for you, bitch.
That's a first. I think that's a first and a last, because usually when a studio gets involved, you wind up with some fucking candy-ass shit.
I always think of, I don't know if you know the story, but the South Park guys in the first movie, they would get a note about, oh, you got to fix this. It's too offensive. And they would make it more offensive. And the student would be like, okay, good. Thank you. Fix it. And they put it in the movie. This must have happened in this movie where they're like, okay, we can't have the kid doing drugs. It's like, okay, what if the kid then murders a bunch of people with a machine gun, tries to strangle a cop? Like, yeah, of course. But no drugs. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, he's strangling. He's like, you bitch. And I was like, oh, woo.
Yeah, that kid, gave Chucky a fucking run for his money, man. Foul mouth.
And he looked it.
Yeah, he looked it big time. And, machine gun, cruel, mean-spirited. I love the bit when him and RoboCop meet up and RoboCop's got him cornered and it's like the POV of RoboCop. He's like, oh, you can't shoot me because I'm a fucking kid. Hey, and then bing, he shoots a bullet in RoboCop's head.
Can't shoot a kid, can you, fucker?
One of my favorite scenes, I want to talk about the kid, is I think it's after the arcade. He's like shooting, and he runs out. Shit. Loads it back up. It's like that little things like that, or what he's
the little moments.
Trying to massage the mayor's to put me down for 50, and the mayor's like, ha, 50 cents. It's like, no, 50 million. He's in a suit. He's all slick and being mobsters. You're like, people don't like that though. I've read some comments online. Either it's offensive or they think it's stupid. And I would argue neither. It's not offensive, but it's played well. Would you agree? I mean, the kid does well.
Oh, the kid is fantastic, but it is very offensive to people who get offended really easily because it's a kid, and he plays it so well. It's
always been one of my favorite parts.
That it's funny because I read reviews before the show, kind of like old reviews like Ebert and shit like that. And it was pretty. When it came out, it was reviewed middle ground. And all the reasons that people are bitching and moaning, complaining, are the reasons why I love it. Oh, it's excessively violent. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, it's mean-spirited. Yes. Oh, there's a lot of action, too much action, not enough character development. Yeah, that's fine too. I'm okay with action. Although, I will say I would have liked more. I loved, and I know in Frank Miller's script, I think it was more of a through line. But I love the Murphy basically stalking his ex-wife.
Yeah.
That whole bit, it had a lot of heart. I felt for Murphy, man, it's not a subplot they really carried throughout. It was pretty much in the first act. And then they, I'm not your husband, he's dead or some shit. And they closed it, all the best love and kisses. But I think it would have been nice to have that as a through line throughout, like a nice cutaway subplot. Because it's the only really sense of humanity in this movie, because this movie is just fucking carnage and evil, and that's the heart of the movie was that bit for me. Anyways,
no, I agree. I actually wrote down it's something I've caught over the years, and I don't hold it against the director and the writers for changing it. But at the end of RoboCop 1, the arc's over. He's a robot, but he's human again in a way. Who are, what's your name, son? What's your name, kid? Murphy. Yeah. So you can't continue that. It's one of those, to continue that wouldn't be a RoboCop movie because he's sort of figured out who he is. So in this, they kind of negate that a bit. And so him stalking the white to me is almost like mid-movie RoboCop in the first, like he's kind of halfway there, because he's a little bit emotional, but then he's completely like, nope, we need to do that. And it's like, he kind of went back on the first. So I agree with you. I think if they would have kept that subplot the entire movie, it would have almost made the sort of retcon a little less obvious, because it would have had that emotion part that he's like kind of longing for his wife. Though I was noticing there's random parts where he has an emotional voice as RoboCop, and it's not really addressed. There's a really funny part. I never got this ever, but when the guy's has the gun to the little baby, the infant's head. I mean, I know it's a doll.
Yeah.
That's
in the drug lab. Yeah.
Yes. And he goes,
like, again.
I'll kill it. And he goes, no, like real sarcastic, like no.
The baby's going with me.
No.
It was real casual. No. And then he kills him. I mean but that was just saying, like his voice would have been like no, but it was like no, we're not gonna let that happen here, buddy. But I mean, even that the gun to the baby's head is pretty ballsy.
You would never see a scene in a movie made today where a bad guy puts a gun to a baby's head.
No. And uses it as a shield. I'll kill it, I swear. Oh.
I respect that. I respect them. And again, you guys and dolls, if you haven't seen RoboCop 2 in a long time, if you revisit it after this drivel, you will see what we're talking about. This movie's hardcore shit. And it's even more impressive that it's hardcore shit that comes from a big studio.
Yeah. And it's a sequel that, sequels tend to be more, the ending scene. I know Peter Weller had issues because it's like, oh, it's just a robot fight. A great robot fight, though. Oh,
yeah. The stop motion. I mean, look,
awesome.
It's dated today.
Yeah, but it works.
But the stop motion is still impressive by, the standards that, they were dealing with at the time. Actually, one of my favorite scenes from the movie is where it's straight out of a horror movie when Kane, before he's fully revealed Kane as the RoboCop 2 in the hangar, and he's fucking fucking everybody up, hunting everybody.
It's all shadowy and
exactly. Yeah. So you're like, wow, okay, that you feel the tension, you feel the threat. Maybe let's explore the actors a little bit, man. I mean, we already talked about the kid that played Hobb. And I don't know his fucking real name, so
he did great, whoever he is. I pulled it up at like Gabriel Damien, I think is what it says.
Well, Gabriel Damien, if you were watching this, which I highly doubt because only my mom watches this and she doesn't even watch it. Bravo, bro.
Stole the movie.
Bravo, you stole the movie. You stole the movie big time. Your little fucking suit, you fuck. So
yeah, shoot a kid, you fucker.
I loved it. Ebert, you read his review, he hated that. He's
he was bothered by the kid.
Shut up, fuck.
But as I get older, I realize
his soul, though. But you know what I mean, yeah.
He did a lot of good for the industry as a whole. But as I get older, I realize like how wrong he was on a lot of like genre movies. Like it's one of those things. You gotta kind of separate the art from the artist.
So I think Weller was fine again. Nancy Allen didn't have as much to do in this one. And in part 3, they basically killed the Ann Lewis character off, which is a huge mistake in my book. But part 3 is basically in the garbage already. Like it doesn't even count in this franchise. Along with that shit TV show. Fuck that shit. All in the garbage. Weller was great. Allen was great.
Who's coming up from behind? The old man, probably, right?
Who's what?
Who's coming up from behind?
Tom Noonan, dog.
Oh yeah. Tom was great, but they cut him down. I mean, I feel like I wish he was in it more. Is my big complaint.
Yeah, but he was still he it
was a presence.
Yeah, and he made him a hippie. That was a Noonan thing. Like in the script, he wasn't a hippie. In the script, I think he was more like a suit guy and stuff, the whole Kane character.
Yeah, well, I love his outfit changes. He had like the bandana and shit. I was like, I like this guy. Yeah.
He just wants to get high and have a good time. Nothing wrong with that. Which actually brings me, I don't know if it's too early in the game for me to go this way, but
let's go.
The biggest problem with this fucking movie, who the fuck thought that taking the brain of a cult leader, drug addict, murderous son of a bitch, and putting it into a robot with so much firepower that, he could take out a whole city. How the fuck did you think that was going to play well?
Well, it's I'm looking at her name. I think it's Juliet in the movie, the one with the really awkward accent.
Yeah, the doctor chick. Yeah,
but that's a whole. But that's
stupid.
But that's the whole point of like that third act is that she's trying to cozy up with the big wig, and she's like, "Oh, well, he's a drug addict. We'll just control him," and then immediately fucks up. I kind of like though that it's not something that sort of works and eventually falls apart. It's like the second, it's like the Ed 209.
He takes a little fucking remote, puts it free play. Crashes it, fucks everybody up. That's it.
Like 4 seconds into the presentation, it's just like, oh, it did not work. It did not work. But I mean, I think I'll fight you a little on this. I mean, it is stupid, but I do think they set up the stupidness, which is when all the cops keep killing themselves. It's just like he shoots both the doctors and puts one in his own.
Yeah, the one that pulls off his head.
Yeah, just I'd rather die. And they're all, and I love how everybody's just like, and the one doctor's like rubbing his arm that he got shot at, I love how it's just like, workplace hazard. But I always feel like that's kind of
I don't get it at all. I think it's absolutely asinine.
But that's the humor.
If this Dr. Broad, that's her plan, okay? But then you got higher ups that approve that plan. How do you taking the brain of a drug addicted, murderous son of a bitch and putting in a fucking giant robot, and you think that's going to play well?
She was begging the old man. He was the top guy. His subordinate actually knew all along. He's like, that's not a good idea. We're screwed. And then she comes out all naked in a little
I remember.
And I'm not going to lie to you. That's a great room. Like, And part of me is like, that's how you do it. He's getting laid. He's in like a cool, I don't know, Asian hot tub. She's bringing him, biscuits. I was like, okay, fair enough. He had love on the brain, man. He had love on the brain, poor guy. He made mistakes.
He didn't have love on the brain, man. He had sex on the brain.
Well, I was trying to be polite.
Okay. No, yes. I'm not polite for the internet.
Yes, the allure got him good.
There you go. Thank you. Okay, it's here on the head show, man, not romper room, bro.
At the very end, though, his subordinate's like, well, maybe if it was the act of one woman, he's like, he gives her a hug. He's like, it's all gonna be okay, darling. Johnson, get on that.
Because and as they should. Okay, the old man got blinded by that's on him. But if you really look at it, the broad, and I don't know her name or nothing, it's kind of like Frankenstein. The Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster, and she's nuts. That's the way I read it on this watch. She's insane as well.
Yeah, she's evil.
Pardon me?
Yeah, she's evil. She kills Kane to get his brain because she wants to. Yeah, she's
fucking nuts. Yeah. And the people above, because you got a piece of tail, approve this psychotic fucking plan. How about you take the brain? Why did Murphy work in the first place? Murphy, because they even say in the movies, Irish Catholic cop with a sense of duty. That's why it works. So you find another Irish Catholic or whatever religion, I don't give a fuck, but somebody has a sense of honor and values.
And then we don't get Kane with the coolest villains.
I know, but I'm just calling the movie
Kane.
Like 100 times. It's stupid. Yeah, I said, but I'm less offended by because a lot of this movie is, almost over the top. So I don't think it doesn't fit as much as you do. I mean, I can't argue against you. My only fight would be this movie's sort of silly in that way. It's just nihilistically silly, and I
know it always bothered me. Not bothered me like I'm losing sleep at night or nothing, but it always bothered me like it's so fucking blatantly stupid. I go with it because I want to have a good time, and I do. I have a great time with RoboCop too, but I still got to call it on this is fucking ludicrous.
So it's funny. The call that I put on here was that the old man goes from just being the boss in the first one to essentially a Nazi in this one. His turn doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Like he wasn't evil. He's like straight up evil. And they have fucking the Nazi flags and the people with the hats. Like that's one of those things that as I get older, I'm like why him? They could add another bad guy, or another head of OCP. But he went from a normal business guy to essentially the biggest villain in the world. But there's a couple things I want to bring up to you because I realize the internet is different and divided as to this. I prefer this suit. I think it looks better. The blue iridescent sort of tone. Well, where do you stand actually? Because I noticed that most people hate this.
No, I like the suit, dude. I like the suit. I know they tweaked it to make it more agreeable for Peter Weller. Yeah, because he was, bitching and moaning. Because he almost didn't come back for part 2, and even Orion didn't really care about him coming back for part 2. They're like, it's a guy in a mask. Who cares? That was their argument.
Same shit for Freddy's Revenge, and then they're like, exactly. We're wrong.
And they were wrong. So they made him wearing the suit and all that shit more easier, in the makeup chair and stuff like that for him. I think it looks cool. I dig it. I dig the blue tint. And actually, the entire movie kind of has a bit of a blue tint. Yeah. So the suit itself kind of fits into that motif, if you will.
And I'm going to argue, I think this actually has the best RoboCop reveal. Every movie has that like one moment. Yeah. This is superior to the first and of course the third, but I got to add it in because it's a trilogy. When they the gang members blow up the cop car and they're all laughing, and fucking his foot comes down and it's broken glass and fire and it gets on the cop car. To this day, dude, that is still the coolest reveal. I was like, yeah.
There's some pretty nasty, gory moments actually. Even the murder of that the rat cop.
Oh yeah.
With the scalpel and.
Doesn't he look scared?
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, that's upsetting. That's a little, whoa, okay, you're going there. You're going that far. Okay, cool.
So I read earlier today, I never knew about this. I guess I never looked it up. I guess, I don't know if it was filmed or in the script or filmed. I don't know because I've never seen it. But I guess they dismember them and that cops throughout the movie keep finding different parts of them. And I was like, oh man, that would have been nice. They just like, oh, his arm. Oh, it's stuff he said. But no, I agree. That's the dark part because he turns the kid's face towards it. The kid like looks away and he like grabs it. And I was thought, even as a kid, I was like, oh, that's dark.
Yeah, no, goes for the kid. What do you think actually of when they change his directives and he becomes like
the PC guy, the best part of the movie, where he's talking to the kids. This actually, hold on, I'm going to tie into what you're saying though. I wrote down, this has the best kid acting in any movie ever made.
Can't shoot a kid, can you, fucker? Go fuck a refrigerator, peckerneck!
Hands down, all the kids in this are great. When he's at that
and
part,
they're all assholes. They're all assholes. All the kids.
He's fucked. Yeah, that's why I like it. They're beating that old
with
store.
a baseball bat.
Yeah, exactly. But he walks in, he's like, gives them like lessons, and he gets on one knee. I love it. He's like, what a beautiful day. He stops the fucking fire hydrant, and they're like calling him an asshole and spray painting him. And he's just like,
spray paint his head, and
waste makes haste. He's all chill, and the guy smokes. He goes, bah, bah, he tries to murder the guy. Goes right around him. Yeah. No, I love it that he became the focus group. They're like, well, does he have to always be so violent? I never hear him talking about the environment. Maybe he could talk more. That's a great scene. And they cut to him, and he's just
and sadly, very relevant today.
Yes.
Let's talk about music a little bit. Obviously, the score of the first one was done by Basil Polidorov, who of course did the score for Conan the Barbarian and Total Recall. Iconic score for RoboCop as well.
Yeah, it's defining actually.
Yeah, and this one they got this dude called Leonard Rosman or Roskman or some shit. Leonard. They got Leonard. I didn't think the score had as much impact as the one in the OG.
No, actually not. I would say I don't think I could hum something from this movie. I think it was adequate. It was fine. Yeah. But it's one of those really, I'm always surprised. You might know if it's a rights issue or how this always works. But once there's an iconic theme for a character in a movie, they should just reuse that.
Yeah.
Like you could tweak things and change it, but kind of
like they did with Rambo. Jerry Goldsmith did the score to Rambo.
Yeah, Rambo has a specific tone.
First Blood,
melody,
Rambo 2, and Rambo 3, and then they brought in the great, actually, Brian Tyler to do the score for Rambo 4 and Rambo 5. But he still uses licks.
Yeah,
Jerry Goldsmith. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. This
and RoboCop 2 too, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong.
It wasn't enough that
he kept some of Basil's licks, but it just didn't have the impact of the score of the OG.
But I think that's what makes the original so iconic. It's like everything worked. I love this movie to death, and I'll fight for it. But you're right, like the music, it's fine.
Well, I'll say one thing music-wise.
Is there some sort of music video? Disagree. Oh my God, you sent me something, didn't you?
And you didn't watch it, did you?
No, I probably watched 4. I think I watched 4 seconds. I was like, I don't know what this is. He sounds like, oh, maybe John sent this to me on accident. It was like some sort of and I was like, oh, well, wrong person.
You see what I got to deal with? This fucking what I sent last. One of the great things that happened to me when I first saw RoboCop 2 in the 90s was a music video, "The Kid Goes Wild" by Babylon AD, with a cameo appearance at the end by Sam Kinison. The video is great. The song is great. It led me to Babylon AD's debut album. I think it was the debut album, which has, Bang Goes the Bell and Marianne and all those songs. If you like your 80s, 90s metal, it's a badass album. And that song, which I sent you, you cocksmoker, is a great fucking song. And that's your boy, Sam Kinison, at the end. You didn't fucking watch it?
Here's the thing. I love Sam Kinison. I have all his albums.
Fuck you, man.
But I'm going to admit that his third album is when he started adding music. And I don't like his music. I think he's talented. He could play. He could play, and his voice is okay.
He's doing a monologue in the song.
But I'm just saying that Sam Kinison does music you love.
So Sam Kinison has taste, and you don't. No. So you didn't listen to it, guys. The Kid Goes Wild.
I got like a 40 seconds in. The Kid Goes Wild. RoboCop
2 music video. You like your 80s metal? Check it out, and then check out Babylon AD if you want to go old school nostalgia. It fucking rocks. I don't know why that band didn't become bigger. They should have been. Okay, I'm done. I told you to go fuck yourself enough times today, so I'm done.
Couple stunts I was very impressed with. There's 2 stunts I've noticed throughout the years. I'm going to bring up here. One where the stunt guy jumps out of the van and it blows up, and he's like super close, super dangerous stunt. Very impressed, especially because it's not CGI. And there's another one, my favorite one, and
the extra almost gets whacked
by the car. Like he misses the car by like 4 inches. I mean, clearly the guy like didn't get out of the way. He did because the car gets halfway in before he moves. I'm like, what are you doing? Extra move. And he does that like squeezes out. He almost gets fucking taken. And once I noticed that years ago, I was like, dude,
no CGI there, bro.
No,
that's a real deal, man.
Just clearly that was like either the last take or the best take. But yeah, okay, well, you got it.
Well, I'm sure that guy was a stunt guy, by the way. I'm sure that was a stunt guy. Yeah.
Oh, he had to be, but he clearly he was delayed. He should have moved more. This gets a lot of shit that it doesn't deserve. It's not as good as the first, but I would still argue this is one of the best sequels. You know, slight wackier, kind of crazier, a little more intense, not as sharp as the original, but I do think this deserves a lot more respect. And besides me buying the Shop Factory, I'm still surprised this day. Every time I, look at it or read comments or it just hasn't quite caught on yet. And I'm hoping before I die, it does. But if not, John, the fact that you and me agree makes me happy because I've been a defender of this for my whole life.
I mean, the only thing we disagree about really is the fact that Babylon AD put out a badass fucking metal song and, you can watch more than 5 seconds of it.
I'll watch it, but I have a feeling it's going to make me sadder as it goes on. I already know we're not going to agree, man. One day, though, we will. One day, there's going to be one metal song, John, randomly, where I'm going to be like, oh, this is really good. It's going to blow your mind. You're gonna show me some shit expecting for me to hate it. I'm gonna come on the show and be like, loved it. I loved it.
So what about you guys and dolls, man? RoboCop 2. When's the last time you watched it? If you haven't watched it recently, give it another whirl. Come back in the comments and spit your venom or your love. Personally, one last time, I like to repeat myself. I'm an old man. To see a movie not give any fucks to this level today, in a world that fill in the blank, I just, made me want to like fucking twirl around like in The Sound of Music, man. The broad Sound of Music, she twirls around in a field, she's singing shit. That's me.
But the Von Trapp family, yes.
After RoboCop 2, that's me. So let us know what you think. And thank you for putting up with us on this episode. Cheers, my man. Cheers to all of you again.